In this question, we're being asked to graph this cubic function, and it's been provided to us in expanded form, so this is it here. But really, we're just using this question as an excuse to practice long division. So we want to factorize this using long division, but we'll solve the question anyway. We can see here in expanded form, it's great. Our y-intercept is when x is 0, y is 12. So we can see that straight away. But if we wanted to find out what our x-intercepts are, we'd have to factorize this. And one of the ways that you can do that is through long division. It's a bit of a long process and it's a bit of guess and check. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it right the first time. Remember that if you attempt to put a factor in using long division and you get a remainder, then what you have found is that it's not a factor. So I'm going to test is, oops, it's a funny trapezium that's popped up, is x minus 2 a factor? And when I'm asking is it a factor, I'm asking if it's a factor of the function that I've highlighted up the top. So we just write it out as we see it. Will x minus 2 go into, or is it a factor of, x cubed minus 7x squared plus 4x plus 12? And what we do is we jump through our steps. So we take this x out the front here, and we say how many times will it go into x cubed? It will go in x squared times. Then we move to step 2, and we take that x squared here, and we multiply it by each of these terms. And we're going to do this each time we do this line. So x squared times x makes x cubed. But when we write it in the next line, we reverse the symbols because we want the difference between those two lines. Then we say x squared times minus 2 makes minus 2x squared. We're going to write it in as plus 2x squared. Step 3, work out the difference between those two. X cubed minus x cubed makes nothing. Minus 7x squared plus 2x squared makes minus 5x squared. While we're here, we'll bring down this little plus 4x into our next line. Reset, back to step 1. Go back to the original x. Now we're asking how many times it will go into the first term of the new line. So how many times will x go into minus 5x squared? It will go in minus 5x times. To step 2, we're now looking at this minus 5x here, and we're multiplying it by these two terms here. So minus 5x times x makes minus 5x squared. We'll write that down as plus 5x squared. Minus 5x times minus 2 makes positive 10x, so we will minus 10x. Step 3, difference between these, minus 5x squared plus 5x squared is nothing. 4x minus 10x makes minus 6x. Bring down the positive 12 while we're here. Back to step 1. How many times will this x up here go into minus 6x? It will go in minus 6 times. Step 2, take our minus 6 and multiply it by these two terms at the front here. Minus 6 times x makes minus 6x. We'll write it in as plus 6x. Minus 6 times minus 2 makes positive 12. We'll write it in as minus 12. Difference between these, step 3. Minus 6x plus 6x makes nothing. Positive 12 minus 12 makes nothing. So, yes, it is a factor. Great. Now that we've worked that out, let's factorize this equation fully. Remember, what we're actually chasing here is x. We want it in this form to finish, and we know that the first one now is going to be x minus 2, because that's the factor that we tested. But first of all, we've got this line. We've worked this much out. And in brackets over here, if you go back to the solution that you've created here, this one gets substituted in straight into here. So we write this one as x squared minus 5x minus 6. And now I'm just treating this as a quadratic that I'm going to factorize. So I'm looking at this part here and I'm saying, what are the factors of 6 that make 5? They are going to be 6 and 1. So I'll write them in. How do I make those factors equal -5? Well, 1 minus 6 makes 5. And now that's fully factorized. Given that, we can use the null factor method. So, if y is nothing, what will x be? Well, x will be +2, +6, or -1. And now I've got my x-intercepts. I've got when x is 2, y is nothing. When x is 6, y is nothing. And when x is -1, y is nothing. My dominant term comes from here. It's x cubed. And at this stage, we're not worrying about maxes and mins. So over here on the graph, we can plot this. We've got a y-intercept here at 12. And I've got my x-intercepts here at -1, 2, and 6. If I look at my dominant term, it's positive. So that means that the curve is going to come up through 12, turn, come down through 2, turn, and then head back up through 6 as a quick sketch.